Welcome to New Life. How y'all doing? It's good to have you here. Thanks for making it out in person. I think it was just a mild storm in November, in my opinion. You know, it's a little dusting. Yeah, a little dusting. I had to go clean the car off a little bit. Move on. I've been living in Florida for 4 years, and I feel that way. So, for those of you online. I'll leave that there. Hey, we got a couple staff changes. I'm just going to cover real fast before we move on into the message today. First of all, Doris, who's been here a while as a volunteer lead in kids ministry, we've officially hired her as a full-time kids director. So you give it up for, give it up for that. That's good news. We're excited for the vision she has here for our kids ministry here at New Life, and all that she's going to do and continue to do. And we are actively working. She is actively working on making kids service a full-length service. So that parents, you can actually come in here and worship from here on out, Joke, okay. That's also with that, just a shameless plug here, that volunteers are needed in our help to get a full-length kids service. Kids service will also start to have worship, so we can begin to teach them to worship. The old adage was, we want them in the service. Should I go into this? I shouldn't go into this, but I'm going to. I already have the mic, so oh well, it's too late now. Hey, mute me if it gets too ugly. But the old adage was, we want them in the service because the parents will teach them how to worship. But if you've watched yourself worship lately, it's not working out. So we're moving on from that theory. We're working towards a different strategy. We're going to teach them with volunteers who actually love worship, and then maybe you'll be able to learn how to worship because your kids won't be. You won't have. I watch it. I'm with my kids the same way. It's like I'm not worshiping. I'm watching my kids trying to get them not eat the carpet. So I get it. I'm with you. I'm with you in it. But yeah. So anyway, shameless plug. That was way too long. Should have cut me off. Okay. Secondly, in our first series, we came in teaching and preaching. We talked through ruthless elimination of hurry, the ability to really rest and sit in with Jesus and be in those spaces and places. But within that, we talked about choosing our top priorities and how important that is. We're going to note it actually later on today as well. But in doing so, we didn't just do that collectively as a church. We weren't just like nice speaking messages. I encouraged my own staff to review their life and to look at the priorities, especially as we launch into some new vision and some new movement, to look over that. As we did that, Jeff, our worship director, began to really look over and review, his life, and just said, what, I want to make, he's bivocational, so he's working 60, 70 hours a week between here and his other job, and he decided, I want to make my family in this season an even larger priority, which here at New Life, we're always going to celebrate. We're always going to be about it, so this is really good news. It's good news for Jeff and his family. If it is good news for Jeff and his family, it's good news for us. But with that, Jeff is going to be stepping down as the worship director here at New Life. He's still staying in the area. He's still going to volunteer. May still try to find a role for him, even within the worship realm on a paid position. But he loves it here. He loves New Life. He's all about it. He wants to continue to do things, and really we're just celebrating that he's giving up something he loves, because he genuinely does love worship. He's super passionate about it, but for something he loves even more, which is his family. And so, again, super good for him, and we love him, and continue to love having him as an active part of our community here. So with that, though, if you or anyone would be interested in a worship director position, we're officially opening. And so you can look at Connections. I believe we have a sign-up sheet out there, or you could call the church office or go to Connections for applications. So please feel free to give Doris your celebratory regards and welcome her on staff. And you could give Jeff your saddest, most tearful goodbyes, even though he's not leaving. So maybe save your goodbyes for another time. All right, that's it. There's my opening infomercial. painful as it may have been, it had to happen. So we're going to continue to talk about reflect. This is our series on reflecting, on really being able and cherishing and looking through the context of 1 Corinthians 13 and looking that love is patient, love is kind, and how often we look at this definition of love and we attribute it to other people. Oh, I haven't been being kind to my wife. I haven't been being kind to my neighbor. I haven't been being kind to my kid. I haven't been being kind to the relationships. You know, we look at it outwardly. Every once in a while, we may look at God and go, oh, are you being kind to me, or am I being kind to you? Maybe we've gone there, but looking at the idea of, have we ever reflected on self and said, have I been kind to myself lately? Have I been patient with myself lately? Have I been forgiving toward myself lately? And looking through that lens and going, in this context and in this definition of love, we are actually meant to love our own self. It says, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's the greatest commandment. And then the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. In order to really genuinely love somebody else, I have to first have a good, active relationship with God and begin to love Him. In order to love Him, I have to begin to know Him. And He is actually going to draw me even to myself and say, hey, you got to love yourself. You have to be able to be patient with yourself and kind with yourself and forgiving towards self. And if you're not doing that with your own self, you're not going to have much luck doing it towards someone else. It will always be a counterfeit product that we're offering. And so Christopher talked about last week how in order to even do this process, it requires getting regular time with God, as we see in the life of Jesus. You'll have to go through the process of creating boundaries, as we also see in the life of Jesus. And then he ended on, you'll have to do the work. And in order to do the work, I'm going to kind of take that, and he talked a little bit about it, but I want to go into one of the first big tips, or the first big pieces of work that I think you'll have to do. And it has to do with this. You're going to have to learn to dismiss external voices that you've not invited into your inner circle. You're going to have to dismiss external voices you've not invited into your inner circle, and you're going to have to find the voices that you do want there. See, I would argue, and as we've been doing this Reflect series, that voices may be the greatest reflections we have. In the Psalms, David says the tongue holds the power of life and death. Conversely, I would say that the words we reflect on also hold the power of life and death. If I begin to reflect on negative voices all the way through my life, I begin to walk out a depressed, anxious, kind of deathly life, right? But if I begin to reflect on something different, maybe I could have life within me. And so the question at the top that we're going to lead with and then go into is, what are the voices that I've allowed in my life to be the dictating factor for who I am and how I think and feel about myself? See, let me show you how external negative reflections may work. We might sit right here and get that camera shot for online people, because we got a lot of them today who couldn't make it out in a little bit of snow that we had. No, it's okay. If you were in danger, I'm glad you stayed home. Danger. Okay. I gotta just come and just do this thing. Look at you. All right. Negative reflections. If I stand in front of this mirror and I begin to reflect on all the negative voices, it might come out. You might hear things. You might sit here and you might have this narrative in your head already. It might come out. You're not good enough. You're not intelligent. You're not smart. You can't do it. You won't do it. And at times, these negative reflections, they could be really powerful. They could have a large hold on our life. They could sound like just kind of negative one-liners like that. Or maybe in MLK Jr.'s case, it could sound like this. According to an early 1968 Harris poll, the man whose half-century of martyrdom we celebrate each and every year died with a public disapproval rating of nearly 75%. History's kind of cleaned that one up for us, right? We're like, oh no, this country we always loved and celebrate. No. At his death, he died with a public disapproval rating of 75%. In other words, he was hated. He was mistreated. He was ultimately murdered in spite of walking and standing for the right thing, which history later revealed. But I would argue if MLK Jr. sat here and decided to allow the negative reflections, the negative voices of the day, the headlines of the day, the news of the day, the collective voice of the day, the 75% of the day ultimately win the day, we may have lost out on one of the most iconic leaders within the civil rights movements. We may have lost out on him if he had just stayed here and reflected. But I believe MLK Jr., he had something different. He had something he knew to stand on. See, he looked at it differently. There was an important detail that he knew about, and it was that you get to choose what reflection you reflect upon. You get to choose what reflection you reflect upon. You get to choose what reflection you reflect upon. In other words, if I sit here with negative reflection, I could sit here and I could stand here. And the longer that you sit here and the longer you stand here with people who are negatively reflecting on you, maybe people who have been voicing these things over you, maybe the headlines or the news. I mean, I don't think many of us have headlines about us, but the headlines in our own brains of what people have kind of put on us, the labels they've put on us. If I stand here, I would even argue that you will begin to reflect this the more you allow this to be reflected upon you. But you have this massive choice right here in this seat. You could stay here and keep reflecting upon this negative reflection, or you could do something iconic, something crazy. You could stand up and you could walk. Negative reflections fade as you turn away from them, as you walk away from them. They fade quickly as I turn away and create distance. And so I begin to learn the art. Maybe you could begin to learn the art. I think MLK Jr. began to learn the art of, hey, I'm not going to allow this to just negatively reflect on me. I'm not just going to stand here. I'm not going to allow this to write the narrative of my life story. So he stood up and he walked away. But then our society might tell you, well, okay, well then what are you going to reflect on? And we've got this other mirror here, and we could call this positive reflections. And we could say, oh, yeah, just get around more positive people, more positive things. Yeah, and this positive mirror tells me really good things about myself. And so I turn away from the negative voices in my life, and I just get around the positive people in my life. And they tell me, instead of I'm no good, they say, oh, you're so good. Instead of you're ugly, these people tell me I'm attractive. And to do you, boo. And this feels good for a minute. It could boost me up. Oh, you're really intelligent. Oh, you're so smart. I wouldn't have even thought about that. And this is like, oh, I feel better for a minute. But the problem with positive reflection is it does the same thing as a negative reflection. As I walk away and there's distance created between me and the positive reflection, it fades quickly. Same thing. And watch this, what happens. Watch what happens if this is my positive reflection. And I'm reflecting on these people and saying, oh, thank you so much. Oh, you're so good. Oh, thank you. And then watch this. All it takes is, oh, okay, I have to go now. No, don't leave. Well, I didn't get enough affirmation. You didn't give me enough boost for a week. You only said one good thing this week. Last week you said 10 good things. And I've been living on and fortifying, and my strength has been coming from your positive reflection. And so now I'm in need of you. Come on, I need you. Please. See, and this needy individual, this is actually one of the most repulsive people in your life. Don't look at them if they're in the room. And you're like, well, that's strong language. Well, just tell yourself your own emotions or look at your own face the next time that person calls you on the phone. Oh, 5th time today. What do they expect from me? You know, for some of you ladies, it's the mother-in-law, you know what I mean? It's like, what? She, Again, she's going to do this again. You know, for some of it's your parents, for some of it's your kids, all this thing. And you're like, oh, please, I need. And you've become a burden to them. Because positive reflection works the same way, right? As I walk away, it fades quickly as I turn away and create distance. I've only now created a crutch from an outside source that I still can't control. I'm still in need of and depending on outside sources to hold me up. So we begin to sap the energy from them, the time from them, the life out of them. And here's the thing, and the outside source, especially a human outside source, they don't have the ability or the capability to sustain you for a life. And some of us have burnt through relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship. Some of us have burnt through marriages. Some of us have burnt through our children because we can't come to grips with the fact that why can't they hold me up and sustain me? You're looking for them to be the fortifying piece of your own life. And you keep looking at everybody else. But did you notice what happens? Did you just watch this? Watch this as I stand here with the negative reflection, or if I sit here as the positive reflection. But each time something happened as I walked away. What happened? That disappeared. But what else happened? I did it both times, and rarely do we notice it. And maybe we notice it on stage, but we don't notice it in life. What happens is I came with me. The positive reflection did not come with me. The voices, they may have dissipated. The negative voices may have dissipated. But I came with me. I go everywhere I go. In fact, I would say there are two entities in life which separation does not have to occur. The first entity of which separation cannot occur is yourself. That's the only entity of which separation cannot occur. Even God, this is why it's so important that you get regular time with Him. And we're going to jump into it in a minute. But it's so important that you get regular time with Him. Because even with God, God's reflection fades quickly as I turn away and create distance. Every other voice in your life, there is one entity that goes with you everywhere you go. And I love it. People have the craziest of issues in their life. And you know what? They come to these grips. They come to these conclusions. I just got to leave the region. I got to leave the area. I can't do this anymore. And so they'll leave. They'll go to another country sometimes. They'll travel all the way across to the other side of the country. And you know what they find? The same dang issue. Because they went with them. And you know what they'll do? It's still not them. No. We never come down to it must be me. No. We just crossed that. Wasn't the region. You know what else? I know what it is. It was my career. That's what it is. It's my career path. And so they'll change career paths. And then they'll get to the same problem. I got the same dang issues. Nothing's working. What's happening? And then we'll cross that one off though when it doesn't work. And then it's my spouse. It's my spouse. That's the problem. All along, so we'll change spouses. Then it's the kids. It's the kids that's the problem. I got to get away from everybody. It's you, dummy. It's been you all along. And you go everywhere you go. You cannot create separation from your own self. And so the point of this is just a staple. This is just a staple. But if you could get to a place, if you could find some strength, if you could find something that could be a firm foundation that you could stand on and begin to reflect on, then maybe you could begin to actually find freedom and some peace and some beauty in the life that Jesus offered for you. It's about stopping and chasing both sides of the coin. Don't allow negative reflections to be the ultimate voice. Don't allow positive reflections to be the ultimate voice. And I love that this wasn't just something that we're talking about today, but that Paul dealt with it way back. See, ultimately, I would say the decision of whose voice you most tune into, whose voice you most reflect on, will be one of the most important decisions of your life. And Paul deals with it in Acts chapter 27 and 28. There's this story. getting shipwrecked. And I don't know about shipwrecks, but from watching Pirates of the Caribbean, I thought they lasted for like 30 seconds. But Paul was in this one that they said lasted for 2 weeks. He's in a 2-week shipwreck. And in the middle of him being a shipwreck, they say he was a prisoner of Rome. And so that's how they knew him. Paul was prisoner. And so Paul becomes this prisoner. He's working between the centurion and the other slaves on the boat. And actually, he gets to this point where he's so highly regarded as a centurion. In the shipwreck, the Roman custom was actually to kill all of the slaves on the ship. And so instead of killing them, though, the centurion loved Paul so much, he basically saved everybody on the boat. And so in their own way, in the slaves' way, he's like, well, Paul kind of became our savior. And then they crash landed. It's 2 weeks. They go onto the island of Malta, which sounded like a really good vacation maybe spot. But it actually tells us in the story that it was raining and cold. So this is like a shipwreck. I would imagine like Paul swimming with his other buddies on, and they're trying to get to shore. And the one guy said to Paul, he's like, man, it just couldn't get worse, could it? And he's like, starts raining, gets cold. He's like, thanks for saying that. And then they get to shore. And when they get there, Paul, being the good person he is, right? Like, because he's a good Christian person, he thinks, well, everybody's cold, so I'll make sure that I warm them up. And so he starts to build a fire. And so while he's building a fire, he says he goes to put some logs on the fire. And the townspeople are hanging around, and everybody's hanging around him. He goes to put the logs down, and it says a venomous snake jumps out and latches onto him. Bites him. Venomous, poisonous. And so let's say Paul begins to shake it off. And when he shakes it off, he stands back up. And you know what they say about him? They go, oh my goodness, dude. They go, bro, you are terrible. You must be the worst of the worst. They literally said, like, not only did the Romans, you survived as a prisoner, which you shouldn't have. Not only did you survive on the shipwreck, which you shouldn't have. The goddess Justice must hate you so much that she had a snake still kill you. And they say, you must be the worst of the worst. And their label for the worst of the worst at the time was, you must be a murderer. So they go, first he's prisoner, now he's murderer. But I love what Paul did. If you listen, it says literally he shaked the snake off. Sometimes the negative voices in your life, y'all, sometimes you just got to shake them off. Sometimes you got somebody coming up on you. Sometimes you got somebody in your ear. Sometimes you just got to no worries. I'm just going to shake that one off. That's a side note. Different message for another time. You know what Paul does? He shakes it off, and then watch in this story. This is the best. This is what I love about Paul. Paul was Paul just sits down. He sits back down. It's like the picture, like you just got bit by a viper, and he's like, long day out there. Yeah, at least the fire's warm. And that's what they said. Everybody was astonished around the fire pit. They're sitting there like, whoa. And they literally flip within a verse. Within a verse, they go, he's the worst of the worst. He must be a murderer. And the very next verse, they go, he must be a god. People be fickle. People be fickle. Hashtag that one right there. People be fickle, but he a prisoner. He a murderer. I know we got him now. Everybody, put it up on tweet this one out. He a god. So then he's a god. Then all of a sudden, within a day or two later, the chief official on the island gets sick, and so Paul's like, I'll go see what I can do about him. It's actually dysentery. It stands for diarrhea. It's in the scripture. Read about it. And he goes, heals him. I don't know how he heals him. I don't want the details. Thankful we didn't get the details. Heals him. Boom, he's healed, he's done, he's good. And then they start bringing all the sick to Paul on the island. And then they go, forget the lies. He ain't no God. He a healer. This boy a healer up in here. We got a healer on the island of Malta today. So they go from prisoner to murderer to God to healer in about 3 days. Paul gets labeled all of these things. But you know what Paul doesn't do? He doesn't live by he doesn't come over to the negative reflection and start sitting before God. Oh God, I'm a prisoner, I'm a murderer. Oh God, who am I? Jesus, help me. He don't come over to the positive. God, forget you. God, I'm my own God. I'm going to be a healer to the land. Look at who I am. They all worship me. He don't do either. You know what Paul continues to do? Paul continues to step in step in step in step. Just continue to be Paul. That is really good. That's great for Paul. But what about us? How do we do that? How did Paul do that? How come when I get negative reflections too often, I'm sitting here going, oh, who am I? I don't know who I am. Positive reflections. Oh, yeah, boost me up. I'm feeling good today. Let's go out and play ball. Like, no. What happened with Paul that allowed him to have such confidence that regardless of the way the headlines read the next day, Paul was just Paul? What happened? I'm going to show you what happened. Acts chapter 27, I love it. Verse 23 through 25. It says, last night, an angel of the God to whom I belong and whom I serve stood beside me and said, do not be afraid, Paul. Somebody say Paul. Do not be afraid, Paul. Do you see that the angel of God called him by what? His name. He didn't say, hey, do not be afraid, prisoner. Do not be afraid, murderer. Do not be afraid, God himself. Do not be afraid, healer. He said, do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand trial before Caesar. You're on a mission. You still got some stuff to do down here. And God has graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you. So keep up your courage, man, for I have faith in God that it will happen just as he told me. Paul was able to stay resolute, and I'll tell you why. Paul was able to keep his courage because there was a whom he believed in. There was a whom that in the dead of the night, in the silence of the night, in the darkness of the night, in the whispers of the night, he was sitting with, he was praying with, he was worshiping to, he was allowing him to have communion and relationship with a great capital W whom, and that whom had given him such a firm foundation that when the negative reflection said prisoner and murderer, he was resolute in who he was before whom. And when the positive reflection said God and healer, he was resolute in whom had told him who he was and what he was to do. Somebody say something. There was a whom he believed in, and he was walking out his story with that whom. He was not relying on them. He had learned to dismiss every external noise. Every external noise. Every external noise. Every external noise. Dismissed. This voice will reign supreme. This voice, our voices, talking, in communication, in relationship, this will be what allows me to be resolute when the chaos of life hits, when the crisis and sabotage comes. Whether positive, whether negative, I am right here. I am resolute because I have spent my time in the silence of the night when the whispers have come. And see, that's it right there. The internal whispers. Because I love it. God doesn't do it in shouts very often, if ever. Because he is not in competition with your shouting match. He's definitely not in competition with their shouting match. So he waits for you to come close. And he whispers the deepest of truths. The internal whispers must become the loudest voices that speak life over you. And in order to do that, I'm going to give you 3 quick things, and then we're going to wrap this up. Number 1, you're going to have to turn Yahweh's volume up. Turn Yahweh's volume up. Turn it up. Get away with him. Sit with him. Linger with him. Find that space in the dead of the night. Where's your dead of the night? Where's your darkness? Where's the silent moment? It might be a 10-minute drive to and from work. It's 20 minutes that day. It might be a spot in your house that you can get to that just gives you a little bit of that peace, that quiet, that silence. It might be an outside area, wherever it is. Where is that space that you get away and it silences all the chaos of the world, begins to get silenced, all the negative, all the positive, all the highs. Oh, you're so amazing. No. I know who I am. Oh, you're so terrible. No. I know where is his volume? Where is he? Find him and turn that volume up as high as you can turn it up. Tune in to the whisper of his voice. The art of self-love and self-care is to get to such a state that even when others try to reflect either their negative or positive influence on you, you are at such a state of peace within yourself and within your God that neither shake you. They can attempt to reflect upon you, God or evil, and you stay wholly human in and of yourself. And they can't shake you, just like they couldn't shake Paul. Why? Because you're drawing from a source that is Yahweh himself. And Yahweh is not deterred. Yahweh is not stirred. Yahweh's voice and his statements do not return back void. Y'all don't even hear it this morning. How I turn his volume up, it's not by getting louder, but actually by getting quieter. It's in the small voice that he whispers the deepest of truths. And in order to do that, you're going to need to embrace, this is number 2, embrace the boredom of peace. Embrace the boredom of peace. See, I love this. Just a couple weeks ago, I got away for the first time. I just started this job 4.5 months ago, and you could imagine that there's no negative reflections upon this job. And so I'm finally like, I know why. What's all this anxiousness? Oh, it's because of the negative voices. Or at times it's the positive voice that got me all worked up. Oh, no, I know why. Oh, it's my kids. My kids are just being crazy at the house. I can't get a moment of peace. Oh, it's my wife. She's not very peaceful at all. That's a joke. I'm just joking. It's like the essence of peace. Okay. Nobody knows. Okay. And so I get away. I get a cabin in the woods for 2 days. I'm by myself. My own self. You want to know what that means? I have nothing else to blame. And I picked the place. So I couldn't even blame the person who booked it if I didn't like it. I couldn't blame the geography. I couldn't blame the location. I couldn't blame the idea. It was my idea. I couldn't blame my wife. I couldn't blame the kids. Couldn't blame the coworkers. Couldn't blame the employee. Couldn't blame anything. And you know what I'm sitting there with? Anxiety. I should do something. What do I need to do? I need to do something, an activity, a thought, a moment. I should, what could I do? What would I do? Oh, should I schedule out my next 16 months? I have all the time in the world. It's 2 whole days. What should I do? Where should I go? Nobody else was producing the anxiety within myself. I was producing my own self-anxiety. And the idea of sitting and the ability to grab this thing we call peace was right there for me. I could see it. I could feel it. It's right here. But I had to enter into this state that we call boredom in our culture. Boredom's bad. Boredom's terrible. Boredom's the worst. Boredom will kill you. Finally, I was like, just be bored. And I began to embrace the boredom. And I'm starting to recognize and realize that maybe the definition we've been giving boredom is really just the state of being. That one was actually really deep. Note that for me and give that back to me later. I think it's just the state of being. And we were like, that's boring. No, you're being. And as I entered into the state of being, just within my own self, I'm just sitting there. All of a sudden, something started to happen. I began to actually look deep into the fire pit in front of me. I began to actually smell the smoke. Had a drink next to me, and I began to taste really deeply the drink. Really enjoy it. I was like, oh, this is good. This is better than it's been in like months. What is that? It's good. I began to loosen up. I could hear all the birds. There's a stream in front of me. I was tuned into the stream, to the crackle of the fire pit. I reached down, felt some dirt. I was like, look at this dirt. Look at this dirt. Look at it. When was the last time you embraced the boredom of peace and sat and we're still, the verse, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. When was the last time that we just entered in, just embraced it? In order to find peace, I'm going to have to walk through some boredom. One last tip that is in order to embrace the boredom of peace, the best way that you're going to be able to find peace even in that moment is by choosing your top priorities. Choose your top priorities and live within them. Actually live within them. I think Pastor Jeff is a shining example of this moment. He's going, wait, my top priority is family, but I've been working 70 hours a week, but I really want to live within that priority, so I'm going to cut this thing that I love for something I love even more. And so in this priority, in choosing it, my top priority is my relationship with God, my relationship with self, my relationship with wife, my relationship with my kids. Those are the top. That's a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of energy if you actually break it down. And we're not going to take the time to break it down this morning, but it's a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of energy if I begin to actually give those things adequate time in my life. But when I do, and I get to this place where I'm being offered the ability to have some peace and walk through some boredom, if I could go check on my 4 top priorities, I go, whoa, look at that. There's peace. And once I've embraced the boredom of peace, I have the ability to start to turn Yahweh's volume up all the way. God, come on, speak to me. I'm in the moment. I'm in the silence. I'm listening here for you. I want to be resolute in you. I want to be steadfast in you. I want to have a firm foundation in you. I don't want these voices to be speaking or dictating my life anymore, my story anymore, who I am anymore. They have no hold over me here in this place with you. And this freedom starts to come forth. This life starts to come forth. Your heart begins to pulse a little bit different all of a sudden. Why? Because you're one in Him. You're one in Him. It's Jesus' prayer. I pray that they are one as you and I are one. And watch what happens too. Listen to the shouts of the enemy, the shouts of the enemies, the shouts of those negative voices. Oh, they'll still come. You're not enough. Yeah, you're probably right. I am human after all. I think at best, good enough. At best, you're right. I have this really good relationship with God. I'm walking step by step with Him. He's given me a lot of peace over that. You can't do it. Maybe. I might not, actually. I might fail. The God I serve, even the Bible I read, has a bunch of failures in it. God keeps walking through it with them. I might fail. You're right. Thanks for your thoughts. You see all that anxiety, all those voices, those reflections that trying to pull you down, keep you depressed, you begin to reflect with Him. You begin to reflect with self, because guess what? This thing goes with me everywhere I go. But if I'm at peace here and I'm at peace here, I'm really got a great chance at quieting down the shouts of the enemies, at quieting down the shouts of the voices, at quieting down the shouts of the external voices coming out. And I can just stand resolute within the internal whispers that have happened in the dead of the silence of the night, just between me and Yahweh Himself. And that's the gift Jesus gave to us. That's the greatest gift Jesus gave to us. When was the last time you sat with your own presence in the present moment? When was the last time you were able to give your actual presence in the present moment to the people you love most? I can tell you where to find it. It's the same place where Paul found it. It's in a home in the dead of the night. And I want to encourage you, don't build your life on this. Don't build your life on that. They'll switch up and flip up on a moment's notice. But you begin to build your life on His words. You begin to repeat His words back to yourself. Now you got two internal voices going for you. God before me. Let's sing this. Really keep it soft for a little bit. Keep it soft for a little bit. Come on. Sing that. Wind. You, my heart. Sing a song. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Whether the highs or the lows, whether the ups or the downs. Come on. When the worst of the worst happens, I'm gonna make it through. The shipwrecks in life. I built it on Him. It's just a relationship with me and Him. Negative voices, they can say what they want. My house isn't built on that. I'm gonna make it through. My head is strong on you. My house is built on you. you down. He won't let you down.
No, he won't fail.
Life might let you down.
He won't fail.
Voices might let you down.
He won't.
He won't.
No,
He
he
won't.
won't fail. He won't fail. He won't. He won't. He won't fail.
Build it on him.
He won't fail.
Build it on him.
He won't.
Knew that rain came real soft. One more time. Come on, sing it, church.
Came when my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through.
No rain.
Rain came, wind blew. My house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Yes, I'm gonna make it through. I'm standing strong on you. Yes, I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause my house is built on you. I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm standing strong on you. Yes, I'm gonna make it through. My house is built on you.
God, we thank you for being a firm foundation. I thank you that the voices of this world, whether negative or positive, are not the ultimate. They're not the ultimate truth. They don't have the ultimate say over our life. Thank you for taking this narrative and calling us worthy, creating us, allowing us to be part of this crazy world you've created, this beautiful world you've created. That we are one of the creations that you call your finest, your greatest. God, I pray that we would, as a church community, continue to find that place with you. Find that space in you. We would turn your volume up. Embrace the peace. Choose our priorities. They would all be found in you. And we would be found resolute. Whether the storm comes, whether chaos or beauty in our life. I pray for that in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Before we dismiss, we do have a cool takeaway gift. It's a little mini mirror. We have these at the door, and they have reflect on the back. And underneath it says, love God, love self, and love others. We just did our series called Yahweh, and then did this series Reflect, really based on loving self. And I think for a long time we maybe haven't given ourselves permission to do so. Just want to encourage you to continue to give yourself permission to do this. Love God, to know Him, and to love self. And out of that overflow, I believe we actually genuinely begin to love others at our best. And so I really want to encourage you. If you need a reminder, if you want a reminder, put these on my in front of my mirror at my house or in my office or in the car, but wherever you need your reminder most, that you would take this with you and put it there and go, hey, remember, reflect. Love God, love self. Gives you the best genuine chance at loving everyone else.